Can I just ask for anybody else back here?
I'll take them just in case it's a late question.
Okay. Write a question or two down. I have one. Anybody over here need to write a question?
Connection was lost, huh?
Keep losing connection.
It's not good.
Andy, I keep losing connection. Yeah, with the line, it keeps dropping on me. I wonder if I just want to do wireless.
You're losing it on here?
Yes, yeah, it keeps dropping. It keeps shutting out.
Six o'clock, huh?
I think we'll get started in just 1 minute.
No, too much dust in the chair. Oh, yeah.
Good evening. The League of Women Voters of Pocatello and Pocatello Channel 12 Community Television welcomes you to this forum featuring the candidates running for Mayor of Chubbuck and the Chubbuck City Council. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization which seeks to promote the informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League neither supports nor opposes candidates for office at any level. Instead, it works to provide educational opportunities to the voting public to ensure a well-informed electorate. The League is always open to new members, both men and women. There are membership forms available should you be interested. Our moderator this evening will be Margaret Gagnon, who will introduce our panel of mayoral candidates and describe the format for tonight's forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, all of you. We're really pleased to be in Chubbuck and to have some time to get to know the candidates for mayor and city council offices. What we will be doing, first of all, if you could turn your cell phones or other devices to your silent mode. And with us this evening, we have 7 of the 8 candidates for city council seats and all 3 of the mayoral candidates. We'll start with the mayoral candidates, and then at 7 o'clock we'll take a short break and bring up all of the council candidates. They will sit for 2 hours. The first hour will be only mayoral questions. So we will take your questions now, and then if you would like them to be repeated for the city council candidates, just let us know. We'll make sure that we submit them for both panels. The process this evening is going to be a 2-minute opening remark from each of the candidates, and once they're done, the rest of the session is with questions from the audience. So don't leave me hanging up here. I'll start inventing if I must. But thank you. I already have a question in. You may bring your questions to the table up at front, and we'll also have someone rotating through a little bit throughout the evening. If you need blank cards to write the question down, they're up at the front desk, and we have pens, pencils if you need them. The format after the questions begin, each candidate will have a minute and a half to respond. We will not have a rebuttal, and at the very end of the session, there will be 30 seconds for the candidates to sum up. So that gives you a sense of how fast and furious it will go for them. We're so grateful for you being here, and we appreciate if you could share your questions with the group up front. And with that, from my right to left, we have the mayoral candidates Craig Brainerd, Kevin England, and Brent Marshall. And as you may know, there's no incumbent running this year, so we have a wide open field. And we look forward to hearing from all three of you. Mr. Brainerd, if you would like to begin.
Sure, I would love to begin. First of all, as you said, my name is Craig Brainerd. I'm 32 years old. This is my first attempt at anything political at all. I figured why not go for the big office first, right? And you have to forgive me, I'm a little bit nervous. Yeah, I'm having a good time up here doing this stuff. And going around campaigning, it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. I'm just a blue-collar guy that works up in Blackfoot as a welder. I'm in the National Guard, in the military. Been in the Guard for 15 years. I do that up in Idaho Falls, in service batteries, golf company now. I enjoyed that. Been doing that for a long time. But I figured it's time to throw my head into some public service, and I figured let's try this out. So as far as my plans, if I'm elected mayor, I'd like to see a change in the availability of employment in our local area. Like I said, I work as a welder in Blackfoot. There aren't a whole lot of manufacturing or industrial jobs in this area. And I'd like to change that by offering tax incentives, other financial breaks to companies that are willing to relocate or start up here in our little community. I think that would be beneficial to our community and to everybody that lives here. So, again, thanks for having me, and hope to hear your questions, and hope to see you get out there and vote.
Thank you, Mr. Brainerd. Mr. England?
Yes, first I'd just like to say thank you to Margaret and to the League of Women Voters for promoting this experience tonight, Channel 12 for recording it, and our tech guys for putting it on the web. Just grateful for this experience, to have the opportunity to get the word out there of who we are. I've lived in the Chubbuck area for 28 years. I absolutely love this area. We raised our family of 6 in the city of Chubbuck, and I look at this as a great opportunity to give back to a community that's given me so much. I have been a self-employed businessman for 35 years. I have at times employed others, but for the last 10 years I've just been a sole proprietor and run a successful business, so I know a lot about what it takes to do those kinds of things, to bring budgets together, to meet payrolls, and to keep work going in front of us. I have been on the Chubbuck City Council for 4 years. I've been the president of the council for the last 2 years, which has given me the opportunity to see the insides of how city government works. It's a lot more technical than most of us recognize, and I've got a great relationship with those who work for the city, and I have great respect for the things that they do. I also have a good relationship and friendship with our legislative body of people that represent us back in Boise. All 3 of the county commissioners are very good friends of mine. I have some friendships with the administration up at ISU, and also with our neighboring city, Pocatello. Many of their officers are good friends of mine. That's one of the things that we need to make sure we keep going, is to see that all of those entities are working hard at developing the things that need to happen in the city of Chubbuck. But I'm just grateful for the opportunity to run. I see this as a time when Chubbuck is making some great progress forward, and it's time to continue that progress, and I think my experience has put me in a place to be able to help that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
I was hoping the first question would be, what is your name? Because I got that down. No, I appreciate this opportunity also that has been afforded us by the League of Women Voters to be able to talk to you and answer your questions that you have about us. It's hard to. Well, I've had people, I think the biggest question they've asked me already is, why would you do this? Why would you put yourself out there so that people can criticize and just basically throw darts at you? But I've come to find out how important our political government is and how important it is to be a representative of the people. And that's what I want to do. I want to be a representative. I want to be a citizen with just a special seat here that I can make decisions, and hopefully in your behalf. I grew up in this area. I went to Highland High School. Then I went to Idaho State University, got a bachelor's degree in marketing. Worked for J.R. Simplot Company for a while, and then I wanted to get a sales position that was a straight commission because I wanted to be rewarded for the things that I did. And so for 30 years, for 3 years I worked for Bang's Office Products, then was hired by Xerox Corporation. Spent 30 years with them, 15 as an agent owner. As an agent owner, I was able to run my own business, my own employees. There again, learning how to do payrolls and budgeting and so forth. I was a bank auditor for a few years before I did that too, but I'm a businessman. That's the way that things should be run, and I'm an opportunist, and this is a great opportunity for me to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know what the process is with the questions that you ask. If a question comes in directed to a single candidate, we broaden the question because the questions will go to all the panel. So if you see that you wrote a question directed at a single person, you'll notice that we make the question broad enough that question's answered, but that each candidate has an opportunity to respond. And if we've received questions submitted on the same topic, we will combine them so that if we have several, we're giving the question asked, but it might not be the exact same wording that you put it in. So with that, this is the best part of the evening. Look forward to starting, and we will start. We alternate. No one will ever have the first question or the same question first. And with that, let's start with Mr. England. The first question is, why do you want to be mayor of Chubbuck?
Okay, that's a fun question. It's Brent kind of hit on this. Sometimes people look at you a little bit funny when you want to get involved in the public sector because it can be difficult. It really can. Matter of fact, the 4 years that I've been on the city council, I'd have to say there have been very few, if any, easy decisions. It's been very difficult. But I will say this for sure, being the mayor of Chubbuck isn't something that was on my mind 28 years ago when I moved to Chubbuck. And I can't say it was on my mind 10 years ago. I can't even say it was on my mind 5 years ago. But as I've served on the city council for the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to see just how important it is to get involved and to be as involved as you can be. And there's been a real education process. I've had the opportunity to go to many seminars in your behalf to learn about what happens in the city. I told my wife once for the first 6 months I was on the city council, I learned more about water than I ever wanted to. But I'm grateful to know that. And I've had the opportunity to go and be trained with our fire department. I have a great respect for what they do. A lot of things have given me that kind of experience to where now, when an acting mayor's decided he didn't want to run again, I thought this is the time. This is the time to put my hat in the ring and to put this experience to work. So I believe I have a lot of experience to bring to this. And I have a lot of compassion, I have a lot of integrity, and I have a lot of desire to see this city move forward. That's why I'm running for the office of mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
Well, when I moved here, I was retired from Xerox. And now I've gone back to work for them. But at that time, I thought I had a lot of time on my hands. And my wife is kind of the political junkie in our family, so when I come home, it was always on Fox or CNN or something, and I started getting more and more interested, and I started coming to the city council meetings. I came for a year, listened to the things that were said, and put my input in, found that I didn't think that my input was really being taken seriously, so I decided to run for city council. I won that position as an elected official 2 years ago, so I'm just halfway through my term. I think I can make a bigger impact on the citizens of Chubbuck by being the mayor. Be able to get into a higher level of decision-making, working with the CDA and the Bank Development Company to make this city fulfill my vision and also the vision of those that live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brainerd?
These guys like this question. I hate this question. Why do you want to be mayor? I don't know. What made you decide to run for mayor is just kind of a spur of the moment decision. I'm a little eccentric, I guess. I'm tired of getting dirty at work, tired of having my feet hurt when I get home, tired of traveling, chasing money around. So I talked to my wife about it, and she said, do what you want to do, you know, get out there and try it out. What's the worst that could happen? Well, I guess I could lose, you know, and might be no worse off than I was before I started. So hey, let's give it a shot. And yeah, I just kind of decided to throw my hat in the ring. Realized when I started doing this, I'd never been to a city council meeting, don't know anything about city government, and I thought, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to learn. So let me get involved in the community a little bit more and have myself a good time while I'm doing it, and we'll see what happens. So there you go.
Thank you. This question will go first to Mr. Marshall. What is the biggest obstacle that the city of Chubbuck faces, and how would you overcome it?
Well, my first priority is the roads and the streets in Chubbuck, and I think that has to be taken care of first of all. If we want to grow our community here, when people come here, businesses come here to live here, to work here, that's the first thing that they're going to realize is that we're not entertaining them with a great road system. We have plenty of roads, we just need to fix them. And great deterioration. I've walked probably more than half of the streets, you know, in this campaign, and a lot of them we don't have sidewalks. We've got frost heaves that have gone clear through the summertime. I think that's the biggest thing we need to do. We need to allocate money. We did put a line item this year in our budget to increase our monies so that we can start these road procedures. We've got a 9 to 10 year plan. I would like to move those down to more of a 5-year plan and find the money to do that. And I think we can allocate those funds in that direction so that we can get those things fixed. That's the only thing that's really going to help us to attract new businesses and to keep people here.
Thank you. Mr. Brainerd?
The biggest thing in my mind is employment in the community. As I don't have anywhere to work in town, so I got to go out of town to work. Yeah, he's right. The roads are pretty torn up in our community, and those need to be fixed. But it really isn't a huge concern to me if I'm pushing my car because I don't have any money to get gas. You know, so employment would be my primary concern. But beyond that, there's expansion. Is where are we going to expand to? We're kind of hemmed in on all sides as far as land development. So we need to come up with a plan for how and if Chubbuck is going to expand. So that needs to be addressed, and need to work on the roads and employment, like I said, and I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Thank you. Mr. England?
It's when you start talking about the biggest obstacles and challenges, that can become really difficult to define because it changes from time to time. Focuses change from time to time. I know that when I was asked that question 4 years ago, the streets weren't talked about at all, not at all. And now that seems to be on pretty much top of the list. If it's not up there at the top, it's close. The economy obviously is the huge one, and there's certain things that our hands are tied with. We're dealing with the same economy that you are in your day-to-day life. that creates some problems at the city level. There's a lot of things we'd like to see happen that our hands are tied. We can't do them because of the economy. But we still have to be out there actively pursuing businesses to come and be here. For one reason, we've got to increase that tax base so that we can get the money to maintain these streets. Right now, we're a bedroom community, and we have to rely on each of you to come up with the money to do that. That's expensive. It costs millions of dollars when we start talking about replacing streets. Without the CDA, which is a separate body from the City Council, we wouldn't be able to replace streets. This $187,000 that we've got a line item to take care of streets next year will hopefully maintain some streets. It would replace about 75 feet of street. So that's not going to do it. So we do need to do that. And one of the things that I looked at during this last week is in the history of Chubbuck, at least as far as I can find, and I've gone back 35 years, the streets have never been replaced by our general fund money. It's always been by urban renewal type money. And so we do need to focus there, and we are. There is a plan to see that that happens over the next few years.
Thank you. Well, that was a perfect segue, and not to tip off the answer, but starting with Mr. Brainerd, what are TIP funds and how are they used?
I have no idea what TIP funds are and how they're used. What do we use to repair roads? Sound good? Ooh, who's got a coin? I want to flip a coin. Next question.
All right, Mr. England?
That's a good answer, Brenda. Let me just tell you what I know about TIFs. TIF funds are really important to our city. In 1965, there was an urban renewal plan made where opportunity was given to us as a city to do some different things. Well, in 1992, the Chubbuck City Council created the CDA, the Chubbuck Development Authority. It is an arm of the state government. They are the people that decide where TIF money will go. TIF money comes from declaring an area blighted, and then there's extra tax money that's put into that, and this committee that's duly appointed determines where that money will go. There have been some wonderful things happen in this city with the TIF money. A lot of recreational opportunities. All of the streets that have been replaced have been done by the TIF money. We're going to get a new tennis court. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful addition to our community over by our hockey rink. All of those things happen with TIF money through the CDA. It's important to remember and always realize that mayor and the council have no say on TIF money. None. As a matter of fact, the bylaws state that. The only thing the council and the mayor can do is determine who will serve on that board. They can appoint and take people from that board. But it's up to that 7-man board to determine where that money goes. I believe, as I've looked over the last at least 15 years, that TIF money is being spent very well. And that is the money that's set in place over the next 8 years to replace streets in the city of Chubbuck.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
TIF funds are tax incremental financing funds. And what it's set up for is for blighted areas or undeveloped areas in a city or community. In 2006, there was a debate in Boise that was determining what was blighted and what was underdeveloped. Chubbuck has redefined TIF to be any development. So basically, the city of Chubbuck is one big TIF. So how we get funding and be able to do things is that we go in and, well, the CDA does, I say we, but the CDA, picks an area that they want to fund these things. So once that goes in there, the funds are supposed to be used to improve that property or that land. Once that is done, then it's supposed to be closed because the taxes don't come to the city, they go back to that development. So what we want to do is we want to open those TIFs, we want to use that money, develop it, we want to close that so that we get a tax base. If we extend it out there 10, 20 years, we're not really gaining any of the economic development other than the people who work there, spending their money in the community. So you have to use a TIF very, very, very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you. This question will go first to Mr. England. Recently, Mayor England announced that the city is in negotiation with Pocatello to merge the fire department. How do you view this merger?
You know, that's an interesting thing because I don't know a lot about that. I also have heard the same thing other people have heard. I haven't heard anymore. But it's another one of those economic things, an economic tool. I had the opportunity to go with the Chubbuck Fire Department into the Nampa area and receive some wonderful training. I watched what was going on there. They have merged several of their departments there. And the reason they've done it is for economic reasons. They've got some great facilities there that they've been able to put up because they cooperatively came together and did that. Now, that being said, for that to happen in this area, there's a whole lot of things that would need to happen first. Number one, the mayors of both communities would have to believe that it would be a benefit to our communities. Then the city councils would need to be involved and ask a lot of questions as to whether or not that ought to happen and how it should happen. Then there would be a lot of public meetings with public hearings to get the public's input as to how that would happen. If it did happen, it would leave the hands of the city of Pocatello and the city of Chubbuck. It would be a separate entity for many of us. But the only way that that would happen is if it had an economic benefit to us and it could service our communities at least as well, if not better than it is now. So those decisions are far off. But if they become the kinds of decisions that would really be a benefit to us, of course we'd want to do it. If they didn't and those kinds of things were not able to be worked out, absolutely not.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
We haven't been enlightened on this. We've heard rumors and rumors and rumors. We've asked and asked questions about this to see how far along it is. And every time I'm told that there is no negotiation, it pops up somewhere in some kind of conversation or in the newspaper or something that we're going to merge these two. It will be a long process. My feelings are is that we're Chubbuck. We're either the 13th or the 16th largest city in the state of Idaho. We're an entity unto ourselves. We should keep that separate. I think that if you don't have a strong police department, if you don't have a strong fire department, you really don't have a city. So if we want to give that up, it's just one step that would be towards merging of Pocatello and Chubbuck. And I don't think they're going to let us call the whole thing Chubbuck. So I think we should continue to build a strong fire department. And if the negotiations go along and we get more information, and it could be proved to us that there is a financial benefit, I would entertain that. But I would also make sure that there was a referendum, that the citizens are able to vote upon this. It shouldn't be done just by fellow people.
Thank you. Mr. Brainerd?
All right. I mean, we merged the two fire departments of the two cities together, and we're going to, if it is a financial benefit to both communities and it doesn't affect response times for the fire departments, then I think it's great. But that's going to take a lot of research and a lot of study and a lot of planning to figure out if that's a good idea or not. And then, as Mr. England said, you've got to get with the city councils of both cities, mayors of both cities. You got to get with the people that live in the community and see if this is what everybody wants. Once we've figured out the facts behind it. Now, merging the two together, I think, would be a good idea as long as we can save money and as long as it doesn't make it so when I call the fire department, they show up 45 minutes later. That doesn't do me any good if my house is burned down. So saving a couple bucks isn't worth that. And that's all I have to say about that. All right.
Thank you. This question will go first to Mr. Marshall. How does the city work with Bannock Development Corporation?
Bannock Development Corporation is an entity that serves both Pocatello and Chubbuck. They are designed to develop new business, bring in new business, and they have committees. They go out. They look at companies that would fit our environment, and their main job is to basically inform us as to what's going on in and around our areas. To me, I think that we need to have that. We need to have people that are bold enough to go out and find industries, bring them in here, show them, demonstrate the workforce that we have, the people, the capabilities, the resources, the land, whatever it takes to make it attractive to come here. But another thing that they should be looking at is the people who are already here, the businesses that are already in Chubbuck and Pocatello. We need to build those up. I mean, government doesn't create jobs. People create jobs out there. And so we need to make it, the environment better and more attractive, so that what we have here, we should be building those businesses that are already here so that they can produce more product, pay a higher wage. You know, we don't have to go out there and find an entity that we're not sure whether or not they're going to stay here very long. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brainerd.
As with most everything else in here, I have no idea about the Bannock Development Corporation Company, but it sounds good to me. I mean, it sounds a little bit like the Regional Development Alliance, right? They're throwing money at us to help us build, help us keep our community strong through loans to help start up businesses and to help keep businesses in this area and attract new ones. And I mean, what's wrong with that? Sounds like a good deal to me.
Thank you, Mr. England.
Well, Bannock Development does just what it says it does. It's Bannock County. It doesn't just service any particular city. It's the county, and it's very interesting. As the development part of it is really something we need to do as teams. And so each entity within Bannock County has a responsibility to work closely with Bannock Development to see that the right kinds of things are being put out there to promote our community. I think Bannock Development does an absolute beautiful job. As a matter of fact, they were part of this process of helping us bring some businesses into the community in the recent past. And so it's important that those relationships stay fluid and that every entity involved is doing their part, but Bannock Development does a very good job. And our relationship with them just needs to remain very strong.
Thank you. This question will go first to Mr. Brainerd. The website Accountable Idaho ranks Chubbuck as the highest tax rate in southeast Idaho. How can you change this?
Well, you lower the taxes, or you change the website, right? Those obviously aren't serious answers. I mean, the tax rate here for my family, I haven't really noticed it being ridiculously high. You know, I pay property taxes. My utilities are a little bit high, but that's about it. You know, it doesn't seem like it's too bad, but I mean, you got to look at the city budget, and you got to figure out where the money comes from for the city budget, and that comes from taxes. That's the only way government has money, is by taking it from citizens through taxes, citizens and businesses. And I mean, if you lower the business tax rate, you're going to encourage more businesses to come to the community. If you lower the tax rate on individuals, on families, you're going to encourage more families to come to the area. And that, in effect, will increase your tax base, and you'll wind up with more income from that. But as far as my experience with paying taxes, and I don't own a business, so I don't know how business taxes are, but for individual family taxes, it doesn't seem too bad to me.
Thank you, Mr. Brainerd. Mr. England?
Taxes are always a touchy subject. Nobody particularly cares for paying taxes, but as I talk to the citizenry, I also don't see people who aren't willing to pay their fair share, and as they understand what's going on. They don't want their money wasted. That's understandable. I don't think any of us want our own money wasted if we go to work 8 to 10 hours a day and come home and bring that hard-earned paycheck home. Statistics are a wonderful thing because you can plug them in and say just about anything you want. I've lived in a couple of communities in my life, and I don't see that the tax rates in the city of Chubbuck are any higher than any place that I've been. Yes, you need to be very, very aware of what the tax rates are and how much you're charging people, but the only way to drop and lower those tax rates is to bring businesses in. Chubbuck's biggest challenge has been the bulk of our tax base is the citizenry. It's the residential taxes. Because of that, we do have a tendency to pay more. Look at Blackfoot, look at Pocatello. They've got a much bigger business district. That puts a broader tax base for them. We've got to develop our tax base there. Now again, We go out and talk to businesses and say, we want you to come here so we can tax the heck out of you so that all the citizens won't have to pay that much. We're not going to draw very many businesses here either. So we've got to be careful about that too. But businesses who really want to come and invest in a community are aware that they're going to need to pay some taxes and help this community. I've seen businesses come in here with an attitude of wanting to be a partner and wanting to pay their share. That's probably the only way we're going to be able to do that, to drop those kinds of taxes. The fact our taxes go up. I've lived in Chubbuck for 28 years and my taxes have never gone down.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
This is a subject that mainly is a county question. They're the ones who do the appraisals. They're the ones who set the tax bases. And in fact, I talked with the assessor today, and he made a statement a couple of days ago that our homeowners exemption would go up so that we wouldn't have to pay as much taxes for next year. Everybody clapped, which I agree with. I've lived in Idaho Falls for the last 30 years, and when we moved here, I looked at Pocatello, and I thought the tax rate was a little higher for what I could get in Chubbuck. We bought a home in Chubbuck. It'll be 4 years tomorrow. I remember moving in there on Halloween. And after 4 years, my tax base has increased. I could have probably paid less now if I would have been in Pocatello, even up on the Satterfield bench, than what I am now. So what we need to work with is the county. We need to make sure that they're doing everything that they can to keep our taxes down. There's not a lot we can influence it other than citizens complaining, challenging, doing those things that will keep your taxes down.
Thank you. This next question will go first to Mr. England. We keep hearing that the city employees are the greatest assets for the city. What have you done or will you do to get to know them and what they do on a daily basis?
Well, I've been doing that for quite some time. I was familiar with our city employees long before I became one of them as an elected official. And I will just continue to do the same things I've been doing in the past, and that's spending time here at the city offices, spending time out and about with them in the places they're called to work, working right alongside them in some instances. I think it's imperative that they know that we know them and that we respect them and we respect what they do. I think it's imperative that we take care of those who have decided that they will be citizens that serve other citizens.